They mocked the quiet recruit in the showers. Months later, a black helicopter lands in the dark. The same men freeze as the new SEAL commander steps out. It's her, and her first order will decide who lives. Water-hammered tile. Voices bounced off it like rocks. Brown, you missed a spot. That dirt's your pride? Mercer's laugh carried. Pike chimed in. She'll ring the bell by Wednesday. No one stopped them. Silence counts as consent in rooms like this. Olivia Brown kept her eyes on the silver circle of the shower head. She let steam hide the sting. She had done this before. Middle school locker rooms, field barracks, a bus at dawn with boys who measured worth by volume. The water ran hot, but the words ran hotter. Her locker sat 2 rows down. Inside it, a broken watch, face cracked across the 7. It had belonged to her mother, an EMT who never threw broken tools away. You fix what can be fixed. You carry what can't. Olivia kept the watch with her because the ticking had failed the day her mother's pulse had failed. Some things stop. You keep moving. An empty wallet lay beneath the watch. She had cleared it out the week she left her job stacking pallets, sold the old car, wired rent to her father. The wallet reminded her there was no going back. No safety net. Only blue water, sand, and men who hated the idea of her. She rubbed the watch with her thumb, the crack line smooth from years of touch. You'll need more than a souvenir, Hayes said behind her, towel slung like a flag. He'd once been friendly, not now. Groups do that to people. I'll need time, she said, closing the locker. You'll run out, he said. He meant it to land like a joke. Outside, evening dropped across Coronado like a blanket you couldn't shake off. The asphalt steamed. A dusty road cut the compound in 2, the same road she ran before chow after chow during midnight evolutions when the instructors smelled weakness like rain. That road had a voice, keep going, keep going, keep going. She listened. Training scores went up at 500 every day. She knew where hers sat. Marksmanship, hydronav, small unit tactics, top quartile across the board. It didn't matter. She didn't want to be right. She wanted to be ready. The instructors loved the ocean more than the recruits. The ocean set the standard. It took heat from the body and stories from the mouth. It taught you to stop narrating and start doing. Olivia found a different rhythm there. She counted wave sets. She counted breaths. When yelling rose, she let numbers cover the sound like foam. Night brought brass boots in the corridor. Chief Bannon's voice, listen up! Conversation snapped shut. Boots aligned, shoulders squared. The chief's eyes were old maps. They had seen routes nobody wanted. Tomorrow. Team lanes. A pause. Observer on deck. He didn't say who. He didn't need to. Rumors grew teeth. A flag officer. Someone from group. Someone from a place with no patch. Olivia felt every gaze cut sideways toward her. If she stumbled, they would feast. If she shined, they would call it luck or pity or politics. Either way, she would sleep the same number of minutes. She wrote 3 notes on a folded index card. Move quiet, move clean. See the edges. Leave no one cold. She slid the card under the broken watch. She closed the locker. Morning arrived mean. The Pacific shrugged. Sand ate ankles. Pike blew past her on the beach run and smirked. She let him go. She had a longer race on her mind. Team lanes began with a map that hid more than it showed. Olivia marked blind corners with a pencil nub and watched Mercer lead his 6 into the obvious entrance like a moth into a porch light. They hit tripwire in minute 7. Instructors did not yell. They observed. The ocean would do the yelling later. Her lane came last. Hayes scowled. He'd been assigned to her element. Don't make me look bad, he said. You handle your end, she said. I'll handle mine. She did not take the direct path. She used the dusty road past the mock village to mask footsteps, cut behind the burn barrel, counted 3 seconds between searchlight sweeps, slipped through a dead space they had painted to look alive. She moved her team around a chalk IED field with hand cues so small you could mistake them for tremors. They made time. They made silence. They made it look like it mattered. In the debrief, Chief Bannon did not smile. He just tapped the whiteboard next to her lane time. Note the approach. Mercer rolled his eyes. Pike whispered, pet tricks. Hayes didn't say anything. The showers roared again. Steam rose. Voices rose. Somebody started a chant, soft then louder. Ring the bell. Ring the bell. A simple drum. A simple wish. Olivia turned the broken watch over and over, feeling the crack trace. She breathed slow. She pictured a dusty road that stretched beyond the gate, beyond the town, beyond what she could name. The road said, "Keep going." The corridor went quiet all at once. Boots, not the chief. Not instructors, polished, heavy. A black beret under one arm. The man stopped at the end of the row and read a list. Mercer, Pike, Hayes, Lynn, Brown. His eyes found hers. Report to briefing room C now. She put the broken watch in her fist and walked toward a door that was never for recruits. On the table inside waited a sealed folder with her name on it. Top secret. Do not open until instructed. The beret nodded at the folder. Lieutenant Brown, he said. Lieutenant? She hadn't earned that yet. Open it. Her fingers slid under the flap. The paper rasped. She lifted the first page, went and froze at the stamp at the top line. The stamp read, "Provisional commissioning, effective upon conditions met." Someone had wired a path for her, then planted razors on it. Conditions? She asked. The beret spoke in a tone built for traffic on midnight radios. Lead a lane at Hell Week, not finish. Lead, your cadre will not know. Your element won't be picked. Random draw, he paused. Earn it without asking for it. Olivia studied the text. The ink bled slightly. The paper smelled like toner and chain oil. Why me? He didn't smile. We need leaders who hear underwater. Hell Week didn't start. It arrived. The ocean chewed you. The sand crawled under your skin and made a home. Men who had full bank accounts and unbroken pride bled both dry on day 2. The brass bell lived in the center like a polite exit sign. We're all adults here. Choose. Her empty wallet rode in her cargo pocket, a flat truth against her thigh. The broken watch lived in the other. Both were heavier than the boat they carried because of everything in them that no one could see. Random draw. That's what they called it. She saw the pattern anyway. 2 strong swimmers, 1 runner, 1 quiet kid who hadn't found his teeth yet, Hayes and her. They linked arms in the surf. The Pacific whispered old names to their bones. A gull laughed at them. The sky turned pewter, then black, then pewter again. The instructors didn't shout much that night. The cold did it for them. Breath turned to white ropes in the beam of a lamp. Someone hummed a hymn no one knew the words to. Hayes's jaw clicked like a metronome. She put her shoulder against his without saying anything. Body heat traded without paperwork. Up, down, boat, push. Commands were simple so that minds could be too. At 0300, the watch in her pocket, dead for years, thumped once. She felt it as a pulse against the hip bone. Nerves misfired, maybe, or something remembered its job in a house set on fire. She didn't trust ghosts. She trusted actions. Still, she touched the face through the fabric and counted off 5 breaths like the start of a new hour. They jogged the dusty road between evolutions, bare feet slapping grit. The road had carved itself through the compound long before any of them arrived. It was generous to all. It asked nothing but steps. Olivia gave it step after step. Hayes faltered at the telephone pole carry, knees light. Pike barked, "Don't drop it, sweetheart." He was talking to the log, or himself, or no one. She didn't waste a reply. She shifted under the wood and took more weight. Hayes glanced at her. The look held apology and hunger and a map she couldn't read yet. They built a boat team out of breath and questions. Who sets pace? Who watches shoreline? Who counts? Who cares when no one else does? At night 3 voices turned strange. Moonung loops. Men spoke to shadows from home. Mercer tried to buy a sandwich from the Pacific with a credit card that didn't exist. He held nothing up in his hand. Declined, Olivia said softly, and for some reason that made him laugh until it sounded like crying. The cadre called for night nav. No GPS, no mercy. They gave them bearings like riddles. Olivia let the stars tell her what the trash fire of the mind could not. Orion leaned over the range tower. Polaris held its little steady light. She counted paces. She counted heartbeats when paces disappeared in brush. At checkpoint 3, Hayes stopped sudden. A nail in the sand. He pulled his hand back. Blood dark in his palm. She wrapped it with a strip of shirt she couldn't afford to lose. He blinked hard. Why? Because you're on my left arm, she said. I need you for the bridge. There was no bridge. But later they had to ford a channel. He steadied her at the hip where the broken watch pressed. They moved like people who hadn't been taught to hate. Day 4 pushed the bell near. The brass looked larger. Its rope swung in drafts from men who had already made the walk. Mercer stared at it as if it were a loved one's door. I could sleep, he said to no one. I could be warm. You could, Olivia said. She didn't say don't. Don't is a child's word. We do or we don't, we pay either way. He didn't ring. Not then. The random draw moment came at dusk. The instructors formed a circle and found her face. Brown, you have the con, Chief Bannon said like it was any other order. The men around her blinked, then looked for a joke in the sand. There wasn't one. She set a pace. She set a line. Less talk, more nods. She slid them through a simulated compound that the ocean had already half destroyed. The roof sagged. The doors stuck. The corners were dishonest. She didn't care. She kept them moving. They finished under time. The cadre made no sound. The ocean did. Later, in the showers, steam burned eyes open. Pike dropped his soap and his guard. You got lucky, he muttered. Mercer didn't speak at all. Hayes watched her for a long moment, then nodded once like a man placing a small bet. Olivia opened her locker. The broken watch lay on the index card. 4 new words had been printed at the bottom, letters sharp and official. Condition 1. Met. She turned to look for the beret. He wasn't there. Another note waited under the card. Condition 2. Command a team that doesn't want you. The lights flickered. The building shuddered. Somewhere outside, the bell rope lifted in a gust and thumped the brass. And then the fire alarm screamed. Smoke drills weren't rare. Timing was. The alarm split the midnight, sharp as a switchblade. Instructors herded bodies into the courtyard. Eyes wide, feet bare, steam trailing off shoulders like spirits leaving. The fire crew jogged in. A fan whined. Doors gaped. Someone whispered sabotage. Someone else whispered prank. The ocean kept its same old song. At 03:27 the alarm died. At 03:29 the beret found her under the eave. He didn't waste syllables. Pack your kit. For what? Orders. He handed her a plain envelope. Not sealed. Inside a flight number, a time. A line that said, brief upon landing, You're still a candidate until you aren't. Move. The dusty road looked different at 400. Empty, moonlit. It didn't urge. It listened. Olivia jogged it to the gate with a ruck that held more meaning than mass. The empty wallet sat on top, proof of purchase. You pay for roads like this with everything you have. A C-12 thumped awake on a quiet runway. She climbed in. No windows worth viewing. 2 other figures boarded. Both kept their eyes on nothing. The air smelled like hydraulic fluid and gum. She tried to sleep, but the broken watch nudged her. Not ticking, just present. She thought of her mother's hand on her shoulder in a wrecked minivan on a winter road. Look at what's ahead, her mother had said then. Not at what's gone. Dawn broke over a different coastline. Norfolk. A van swallowed her and spit her out at a building that didn't accept visitors. The beret was waiting again like a recurring dream that honored schedules. He pushed a badge into her palm. Temporary, it said. The word tasted like metal. They led her into a briefing room full of men who had learned not to show surprise. Coffee steamed. Maps glowed. Radios hummed behind the walls like bees in a church. Mercer sat at the table. Pike too, Hayes, Lynn, 3 faces she didn't know. Their skin held the same pale of fluorescent lights at Aura 100, the same grain of salt and sand. They wore fatigue like another layer of skin. They stared. It took a second for recognition to bloom the right way. Brown? Mercer said, incredulous, each letter a small fall. What are you doing here? She started to answer, but the door opened and a captain walked in. Bars bright, eyes older than his face. He pointed to the front row. Seats. He tapped a folder. New tasking, real-world Africa. He nodded at the beret. Team leadership is settled. Pike leaned forward. Sir, with respect, settled how? Commander will brief, the captain turned. Ma'am? Olivia stood. Words clattered in her throat, then fell into line. She had rehearsed talking to people who didn't want to listen. It's a skill. You begin with the job. You end with the why. Town called Loda, she said, laser pointer steady on the map. Supply route running west, dust road with 2 choke points. Target house here. Intel says 4 hostiles, 1 HVT, 2 non-combatants. She clicked through satellite stills. Roofline is soft. Courtyard flooded yesterday. South wall crumbles under weight. Pike made a face. You memorized all that on the plane? She met his eyes. This morning, Hayes watched like a man listening for a string to break. Mercer stared at the door as if someone might still arrive to fix this. The captain cleared his throat. Questions? Whose command? Mercer asked. The thinness in his voice surprised even him. The captain didn't answer. He didn't have to. The beret spoke. Commander Brown. Silence left its chair and stood between them. Sir, Pike started, palms up toward the captain. With respect, she's the commander, the captain said, voice flat. Respect begins there. Olivia let the seconds hold. She didn't argue for the right to stand where she stood. Arguments never persuaded the proud. Operations do. We step off at 2100, she continued, moving back to the map. I want rehearsals on the courtyard approach and a dry run on the interior. Hayes, you run breaching. Mercer comes. She hesitated for less than a heartbeat. You're on rear security. Keep us honest, he flinched. Pride bruises loudly. She gave them tasks, not speeches. Fewer nouns, more verbs. When men forget you're the subject and focus on the action, everyone wins. Outside, she found a bench and sat. The broken watch lay heavy in her palm. She could almost hear it, not ticking, waiting. Her empty wallet felt lighter somehow, maybe because she was finally spending what she had saved. Hayes walked out and stood off center, close enough for words, far enough for dignity. You going to hold a grudge? He asked. Do I need one? He shook his head. No. Then I won't carry dead weight, she said, and the phrase surprised both of them with how quickly it landed. He nodded and left it there. At 20:58, the team loaded. The bird roared. The night made a tunnel for them to pass through. The dusty road on the map crawled toward them like a vein. They followed it in. 2 minutes, the crew chief called. Mercer checked his radio. Pike checked his ego. Hayes checked her face and found it calm. The skids kissed dirt. The ramp dropped. Heat rose up like someone had opened an oven door in a church basement. Blue, left. Gold right, Olivia said into the mic. We're on the clock. They ran the dusty road. The night turned shapes into warnings. A dog barked once like an old alarm remembering how. The courtyard gate sagged exactly the way the photo had suggested. Hayes set the charge with fingers that didn't fumble. He glanced at her hand. She held up two. He mouthed one. The charge popped. Sand jumped. Pike slid and shouldered in. Olivia flowed behind him and froze on the threshold. Because the courtyard wasn't a courtyard anymore, it was a pit, and someone had covered it with rugs. Air fell away. The rugs sank. Pike dropped like an oath. Olivia grabbed the edge of his rig, shoulder tendons bucking. Hayes lunged and hooked Pike's belt with a gloved fist. Mercer collapsed onto both of them, making a little pyramid of panic over a void that smelled like limestone and sick water. Hold, Olivia said, voice even. Her left hand shook once, then steadied. The broken watch pressed into her wrist bone through the glove as if to say, You have time if you make it. They hauled Pike up inch by inch. He swore, then laughed, then went quiet when he saw the hole. 2 stories deep, spikes like accusations at the bottom, thin metal rods with dirty tape near the tips. Booby-trapped, Hayes said. He sounded impressed against his will. New plan, Olivia said. She wasn't embarrassed by the 2 words. Plans die at contact. That's their nature. She pointed. We go over the north wall. Soft roof means less weight-bearing. Stagger intervals. No cowboying, Mercer keyed the radio. Blue element delayed. Alternate ingress north. Copy, the captain said in her ear from the command van. His voice was sanded down. Trust without perfume, they pulled back. The dusty road inside the compound looked like powder. Wind made a low moan in the alley that could have been words or just old air remembering its work. Olivia found the wall seam by sound, not sight. She pressed the heel of her palm to mud brick and felt a thread of cool that said void behind. Here, she whispered. Hayes nodded, set the ladder, tested each rung like a man tapping ice. She took point over the wall. The roof gave to her weight one side, then held. She crawled flat, distributing load like a prayer. Pike followed lighter now, caution turned into muscle. Through a vent slit, voices murmured. 2 men, a kettle, a radio with a broken squelch. She smelled canned fish and gun oil. She stitched the house together in her head. Window there. Corridor there. The ladder would clatter if they rushed. The charge on the pit had taken their element of surprise and asked for interest. She paid in patience. On breach, she said into the mic. No white light. Nods only. No shots unless you taste metal. She worked her knife under the vent screen. The screws screamed a little. She froze. The voices below kept their same lazy braid. The screen lifted. She slipped through the gap like doubt. Inside air tasted like salt and thyme. A radio hissed. One man coughed. Another poured tea. The soft routine of men who thought night had forgotten them. Olivia stepped down into shadow. She moved like water finding a seam. The first man turned because the human body feels a changed current, even when it can't name it. Her hand covered his mouth and moved him into sleep. The second turned toward the sound that wasn't there anymore. Hayes caught him mid-turn, mid-breath, mid-life. He guided him into quiet. Clear, Olivia whispered. They flowed through the rooms like handwriting no one had learned to read. The HVT slept under a thin blanket. A child slept on the floor by the bed, small feet dusty. The intel hadn't mentioned a child. Intel never meets families at dinner. Pike's hand hovered over the kid. Ma'am,